So welcome back, 4 members of Queer as Funk.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
It's all you. I'm gonna get this out of the way.
Connie said I should stand up. Should I stand up?
You should stand up.
Okay.
So y'all, we're gonna do this sort of like, well, you can stand up if you want, but you don't have to. Do you want to?
The people want you to stand.
The people want you to stand. Okay, great.
Connie
We
wants
just
me to
decided
stand.
we weren't
Okay.
interested. Look at me
We're gonna
just
stand.
being like, you're gonna do it this way. We're also gonna change this. We're not speaking at the podium. Sorry about everything. So as Mark mentioned, we're Queer as Funk. If you want to move to the next slide, pal.
Oh yeah.
This is our spicy talk for today. And one more. So these are all of the members of our fantastic band. So as you can see, you've only got a small selection today. But we're really excited to tell you the story, our story of creativity, and our individual stories as queer musicians, and our sort of creative, spicy stories of our lives and how they wove into become Queer as Funk. Take it away, Al.
Thanks, Jocelyn. That's me. I'm Alison Gorman. I played trumpet in the band. Thank you. Oh. Thanks, Mark. I'll give you a bit of my own musical history. I was always a bit of I was really into music as a kid, although I didn't start playing trumpet until a little bit later. I initially wanted to be a rapper. It hasn't happened yet. I feel like there's still time.
I mean, if anybody's been to karaoke with Al, you'll know that, in fact, you are definitely a rapper.
Oh, thank you.
That is a real thing.
You're all invited to my house for karaoke nights. That's kind of our favorite thing to do as a band. When I moved to Vancouver from Ottawa as a kid, I signed up for grade 8 band as my elective, and it very quickly became apparent that I was the worst one in class. I had only been playing trumpet for a couple of months. Everybody else had been playing music since grade 5, which I guess is what they did. I don't know if it's still the case. I feel like band programs are defunded these days, however. I was terrible. I hated it. I found it very stressful. The move itself was stressful. It was embarrassing. I asked my mom if I could quit, and she was having none of it. So instead, she signed me up for more band, because that's kind of the way she rolls. She's a little spicy herself, I gotta say. So she signed me up for the North Van Youth Band. That's me in the intermediate band, probably age, 14 or something like that. It was the best thing that she could have done. It is the reason I am still playing music today. I got to play an extra 4 hours a week with just really awesome, positive people, other music geeks that I still keep in touch with today. It was great. Trumpet playing became a part of my identity, so much so that I went to university and I did a music degree, and then started playing in, that's Theater Under the Stars, touring with some rock bands, that kind of thing.
Wait, go back.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. That's so that's the Saltines. We did a kids album, and that's us touring with Yo Gabba Gabba and the one and only Biz Markie.
Biz Markie, okay? Does anyone here know OG Biz Markie? Give it up for Biz Markie.
Biz Markie. Rest in peace. Yeah. After college, I was gigging, freelancing, kind of working jobs at the same time. And I did a gig with Dan Mangan, who many of you probably know. He's an unbelievable songwriter in town. Local Boy Made Good. And I met Ivan Coyote on that same gig. And Ivan, you probably know as well, too, if you're kind of into the scene. Amazing trans writer. Through Ivan, I came to know of a choir called Leadfoot. And this was an all-butch, all-queer, trans, masculine of center, butch choir, and it was unbelievable. So I joined this choir. Oh, there's me playing rock music again. I joined this choir, and it changed my life. The feeling of walking into a room and seeing like 20 other butch presenting queer people was unbelievable. To see your community, because when you're out in the world, maybe you see 1 or 2 other people that kind of look like you in a single room. To walk into a room and see 15 or 20 people that look like you and kind of get what your life feels like every day, amazing. Through this choir, I got to know some great musicians. I'd had the name for the band rolling around in my head for a while, and now I was able to assemble the Avengers from this choir. I brought on Sir Bax, who was the drummer for the choir, Ellen Marple, who had joined me at the same time, playing tuba here, but playing trombone in real life, and a really cute baby-faced keyboard player who had come out to me in the car in between sets at a jazz gig that we'd played the week before. I won't steal your thunder. I'll let Connie tell her own story, but once we had the spiciest Scorpio in place, I knew that we had something really, really special. And then we were so much richer for having Jocelyn and Kat join us pretty shortly thereafter. So that's the band. I like that we are queer. I like that we're not mainstream. I like that we're different and weird, and I think that's the spice of it all. We at times have gotten some pushback from the name, it doesn't happen often, but we've been dropped from a wedding. Agencies didn't want to put us on the roster because of the name, so I started my own agency. Just a little bit about the name, and then I'll give it up to somebody who's a little bit better at talking than I am. But the name Queer as Funk comes from an old English adage, which is, there's none so queer as folk. So what does that mean? That's people are weird, people are different, people are strange. We love that. We love celebrating those differences. And I feel really lucky to be able to have these events where I hope people in our community are able to come out and feel the same feeling that I did when I walked into that choir room and feel like they're with their people. And
this was excellent, Alison. You knocked it out of the park.
All right, over to the next one. Thanks.
Way to go, boss. Wow.
My name is Connie. I'm gonna.
Do you want me to?
If you don't mind.
Not at all.
Thank you. I'm gonna tell you a few spicy stories about me and about my journey that woven together bring me right here on this very stage, which is a real surprise to me, even still at this moment. Back in the day when I was a spicy little meatball, I'm about 7 or 8 there. I'm in the blue. That's my younger sister, all in the white. My dad was a working musician, and so we grew up around music. It was a regular part of our life, but always at a bit of a distance. That might have been because my dad was a working musician, and so he really didn't want us to get the fever because he wanted us to have gainful employment. I sang songs at school talent shows, and in university I sang and played in coffee houses, but I never played in a band per se. Spicy nugget. In high school, I played Mary Magdalene in Jesus Christ Superstar, so I want you to just visualize late 90s, very long curly hair, very red lipstick, very much outside of my comfort zone, deeply closeted. Shift it over. As Alison said, we flash forward to around 2012, and my good friend Ivan Coyote asked me if I wanted to join a community choir. And the collective string that was weaving us all together, as Alison has illustrated, was that we were all butch queers, self-identified butch queers, or Mask of Center folks. And it was in that environment that I got to connect with and meet real working artists and musicians and move a little bit further outside of my comfort zone. I was very, very comfortable as a sort of campfire guitar playing, singing person. So very quiet, soft songs. And then as I was leading up to my wedding day, I thought, I'm gonna step way outside. I'm gonna do a sharp left, and I'm gonna sing my bride a ballad, an Adele ballad, by myself on our wedding day with like a complete surprise to everybody, including her. Now, I will say that
I just need to quickly jump in here. That's why we all have mics, so that we can jump in. I attended this wedding, okay? I'd known Connie for some time. And talk about a surprise. I had even seen you perform with Leadfoot before. Like, I'd seen the choir and you were in it. Like, I had some idea that you could sing. And then Connie gets up on that stage, and I shit you not, every single jaw in the room was on the floor, and it was transcendent. It was absolutely like opening a pathway to the divine and witnessing something really magical. Like,
Thank
you
you.
can't oversell how incredible it was.
Thank you. It did definitely make the rest of the wedding quite spicy. So that was fun. And it also, one of my sweet choir mates happened to catch a recording on their phone, and so it became my audition tape for Queer as Funk, which is kind of cool.
Unbeknownst to you, by the way.
Unbeknownst to me. And really, when we gathered with Queer as Funk, we had no idea of where that collection of people were. We didn't understand at all what our focus or intention was. It was simply to gather in queer friendship and to create music together. Our first gig was at Excite Bistro on Hastings Street. My mom flew out from Ontario. It's cute. Okay, and then shortly thereafter, we were invited to perform at the Dyke March for Vancouver Pride, and we had like literally 4 or 5 songs in our entire repertoire. We'll flip over. And we received such a beautiful, warm response from the audience at the Dyke March that they were cheering for us to perform an encore. And we played the first song on the set list again, and that was spicy.
That's like
Right?
a for realsies encore. Like,
That's
it's like
it.
once
That's it.
again.
My own personal creative journey with Queer as Funk has been very sincerely profound. It's been an experience of rebirth, quite literal birth, and just the most amazing experiences and friendships I could ever have dreamed of. I sang and performed during my entire pregnancy, and also when my baby was born, we very quickly booked a gig. And so I came to rehearsal with her on me, and she wore those cute little headphones. And she's now 9 years old. She sings in a community choir herself. She and our 5-year-old are in music lessons. We're starting a small family band, Connie Bunt and the Hey Hey Heys. Private audiences only.
They're going to be opening for Queer as Funk any day
That's
now.
it. They ask me every day. You know, and I will share, friends, that it was not all sunshine and roses through this journey. There were fiery conversations, powerful and important dialogue with our peers and our bandmates and other members of the community that were calling us into question around very important topics, around cultural appropriation of Black music predominantly, which we predominantly play, about how to honor the musicians that created the music that we play, and also how to understand way more intimately the conditions in which they were making this music. We have learned, and we continue to learn, about the structures of colonialism and white supremacy that impact all of us. And we have focused this learning very intentionally now into action. And we have a responsibility to use our platform to speak these words out loud, and it can be very uncomfortable. And we have an obligation to remain and stand in solidarity and resistance with marginalized communities that intersect with our own queer identities, and have a real driving passion to dismantle these harmful systems of oppression. In closing, it is such a profound honor to be here. I have, and as my bandmates know, I've struggled to identify as a musician because I don't have formal training and I don't do this for a living, so to speak. And so the idea of being a creative has been a hard hat for me to wear, mostly because of my own block. But Plato says in the Republic that music is a more potent instrument than any other for education because rhythm and harmony find their way inward into our places of our deepest soul. And I hope you feel a little more soulful today. And in closing, I just want to share with you a little thing that I brought, a little Italian spicy voodoo from my Italian heritage. Keep it real. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kat Hiltz. I'm the bass player of Queer as Funk. I also work as a composer and a producer. So I joined the band. There's me on stage. I joined the band in 2018. An ex and I had hired Connie to be our realtor. So this is, Connie's always working the leads. And the former bass player of Queer as Funk was leaving, in the process of leaving. And I've shared this with Al before, but I've had some exciting opportunities in my life musically. I had one time where I performed with Tegan and Sarah, but I was more excited to join Queer as Funk. I was more excited about the opportunity to be part of what they were doing. Oh, look at this, a clicker. Is this? Oh yeah, great. Excellent. So I could see what they were doing in the community, right? I could see the excitement that was happening. I could see what they were doing for people in terms of celebrating who they were, and they're doing it with music. They were using this tool that I was deeply connected with. So as you can see, this is me when I'm really little. Wow, that one's very pixelated. So music was always a part of my life. My mom is a music teacher, so I've been playing music since I was quite little. But even so, it was not a forced activity. In the center, you can see I asked for that guitar for Christmas. I also one year asked for a saxophone for Christmas, and I ended up with toys, and I was disappointed that they were just toys. But so it was something that I don't know if any of you had the same experience, but I grew up in a household where it was not okay to have emotions. It was not okay to show feelings. There was a lot of shame around crying, for example, or laughing, or running, or being too loud, or being too much, and we were always punished for doing those things. So having music, it allowed me to connect with these emotions in ways that were not verbalized, and it also allowed me to externalize them, so allow them to move through my body and use my body in ways where I could create the sounds, and create and externalize the emotions that I was feeling, that I had permission in this avenue only to feel. So that really stuck with me. This is me. This is my very first band. I don't know, 94, 95, whenever it was cool for everyone to wear backwards hats, as that's what we're all doing. So this was, this band was called Wing It. And Wing had a Y, it was W-Y-N-G. So as we go, so this is me and my mom. So I mentioned that my mom was a music teacher. So she teaches Royal Conservatory. She puts all of her students in exams and competitions and everything. So I did that as well. And as I started taking lessons and as I started, being graded on music, I was taking this thing that was very precious to me and was a very pure human experience, a way that I could experience all these emotions that I wasn't allowed to experience, and suddenly I was being judged on them. And I was being put in all these competitions where I'm literally ranked, with other people by oh, you did this music very well and you only did this music second best. So, this is so obviously there's a lot of identifying. So identifying yourself as a musician and this somebody who is better than this other musician. And and anybody who's been to therapy knows that when you get praise and validation from your parents, it is deeply connected to your survival, in the sense that if you're not getting that praise and validation, if you're not made to feel like you're part of the clan, then you're shunned and you're not in the clan anymore, and you're not going to get your food and your water and everything. So my mom being a music teacher, music was one of the very few places where I actually got praise and validation and actually received some affection and attention. So that resulted in very, very high level of perfectionism. So Then I discovered rock music. So rock music, it's loud, it's silly, it's ridiculous, it's powerful. Like, what a great way to like express all these pent-up emotions, right? And if there are rules, it's like, no, I'm not gonna follow these rules. I'm gonna like explicitly not follow these rules. So I did this for 10 or 15 years. We toured all over the place, like we toured all over the world. I was the only trained musician in the band that I was in, that I performed in for a long time. What band? This was a band called Hot Panda, and we're from Edmonton. So it allowed me to, again, kind of connect with those emotions we had. But after this, after the 10 years that I did this, that little voice in my head saying that I still needed validation, because that's not legitimate. Rock music isn't legitimate, so I needed validation from like legitimate music institutions. So I decided to go back to school. I went back to school the same year that the other bass player was leaving. This is my first gig with Queer as Funk. And I was struck even just adding this to the deck. It's like, that's a face of somebody who is putting way too much pressure on themselves, you know? Like, that person is not having fun, right? Even though I love this, like I love this band, I really cherished the opportunity to do it. But joining this band has been a form of healing for me in many different situations. So like, this is a band where I had a similar experience where I could be on stage with a bunch of other queer folks, and it was our dress code to wear suits. You know, so I was like, always wanted to wear men's clothes, always wanted to shop in the men's section at the store. But this was for work, so I was like, I'm allowed to. It's work, it's okay. That was that. I needed that permission to be able to dress that way. Also, there's so much love with these people that I was accepted and loved exactly for who I was, not in spite of who I was, right? And this band was something that celebrated that. So I can show up and, it doesn't matter if I play the right notes. I'm sure Alison wants me to play the right notes.
You always play the right
I've
notes.
never known you to not play the right notes.
There's always that voice, like I always want to play the right notes. That will never go away. But to have this opportunity to play with all these people and to experience this connection with the audience, to experience this connection with my bandmates, to reconnect with that deep purpose, or like what it was that really drew me to music in the first place was the emotion and connecting with that. So over the years, this is me. This is the past Commodore performance. I've kind of learned being with these people and connecting with these people and using music again as a tool to reconnect with us and using it for joy and actually really celebrating what it was that made me different, right? So all of the reasons that I felt excluded when I was younger because I was queer and I didn't know it is here it is, music again to show you and use this as a tool to, celebrate with your community. So here we are. To Jocelyn, here we go.
Oh, man. I love this band. My name is Jocelyn Macdougall, and Mark is right. I definitely shoehorned us right into this experience. I just feel so touched by all of your stories. I love you so much. I mean, we've known each other for a long time, but I'm hearing stuff today that I have never known about you before, and it's it's always a pleasure just peeling that onion of friendship and love all the time. Okay, so here I am on the far right. So I didn't come from a musical family, but was really into music myself. And when I was about 10, I asked my parents if I could take up the violin. And we went to see our local music teacher. I grew up outside of Toronto in a town called Oakville. And we went to see this lovely woman who taught violin, viola, and cello. And she played all of them for me so that I could choose. And I think partially because she wanted me to play viola because there aren't very many, and there definitely weren't in our little town. But she told me that if I played viola, I'd be able to get into any ensemble I ever wanted to play in because there are never enough violas. And I was like, done, I'll take it. So I played classical viola growing up, and I really loved it. I loved playing in ensembles. I played in a string quartet for many years. I played in a youth orchestra for many years. And I loved the experience of making music in groups. I loved the experience of feeling a shared vibration, and not like, good vibrations, man. You know, like not like a metaphorical vibration, but like a real physical vibration of the music in the group. And one of my favorite memories as a child, I played with sort of 2 or 3 youth symphonies all together at the National Arts Center in Ottawa. So there's like 400 of us on stage playing a piece. And it was, I still to this day have like a crystal clear memory of sitting right in the middle of that sea of musicians and feeling that music in my body as we were all making it together. And so that's part of what I really loved about it. However, I got very comfortable within the strictures, the structure of classical music. It's all written down on the page, there's no deviating, and that felt really safe. Anytime I was invited to try anything improvisational, I was terrified and also terrible at it because I was terrified and never tried again, because of course that's what you have to do, is try again. Fast forward, I wasn't much of a singer as a kid. I think I sang in a choir a little bit. I loved to sing though, and so I sang with my brush in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? Like I was that kind of singer. I loved musical theater so much, and I sang it in the house so much that at one point my father had to ban the playing of Phantom of the Opera in the house. I did a lot of theater in school, and I would have done musical theater, but our school just didn't have the budget. Like doing a musical is a big budget thing, and we didn't have that kind of money. So I did sort of one-act plays as a kid. And then when I moved into sort of my first decade of adulthood, my 20s, I flirted with the idea of going to theater school, and I did one audition. It didn't work out, and so I went and did an academic degree. And I moved away from any creative practices. Like in thinking back, I was, even as preparing the notes for this talk, I was thinking, oh, it's so interesting. I did almost nothing that I now consider to be central to my creative life during my 20s. And I think it's because the narratives that I was fed as a kid is that if you, not unlike Connie, is that if you take up creative pursuits, you'll never make a living. Like that's not a way to live as an adult human in the world. However, when I hit my 30s, I was very lucky to learn about this fantastic group here in Vancouver. You too can be a part of it, called the Broadway Chorus, which is an amateur musical theater group. And I was talking to a friend, and she was in it, and I said, "I'm sorry, can you say that again? Amateur musical anyone can?" She was like, "Well, only if you can sing." And I thought, well, I mean, I can carry a tune in a bucket, like. I'll give it a whirl. So I joined this incredible group, which that's where I learned how to sing. Like it was being in front of audiences and being invited to sing all by myself, to have my only voice be the only one that the whole audience was listening to. And it allowed me to lean on my theater experience, which I loved, and it was so goofy and silly. And I realized that, like, actually, I can do this. Like, I'm okay at this. Fast forward to the Dyke March that Connie was talking about. So I did not attend the very first gig of Queer as Funk, but I did attend the second, and it was the Dyke March in 2013. 2013 Dyke March. 2012? 2013. We're gonna fight over the date. Anyway, they started playing before I got to the park, and I remember literally like breaking into a run on Commercial Drive so that I could make it to the park. And you can see how I felt about things. And that moment, I was like, I gotta be in this band. They are singing all these amazing sort of Motown soul tunes, and they don't have a doo-wop girl. This is outrageous. I'm the girl. And so I slowly began my campaign of weaseling my way into Queer as Funk.
Yeah, you did, baby.
I really did. I knew Connie and the drummer at the time, Sir Bax, and was like putting in my bids, like, what about, do you need backup? I could, and eventually I was invited to sing on a New Year's show and backup on one or two tunes. And then we had another show where I was invited to sing backup on the same tunes. This is the same show that you saw the picture. Oh no, you weren't pregnant in this one. Right, anyway. This was at Pap's Pub in early 2014. And I was invited to sing backup on 2 songs. I got up on the stage and I didn't leave.
That is spicy, baby. That is spicy.
And never left ever since.
I never left ever since. But I stood up there because I thought, you know what Alison can't do right now is throw me off the stage in front of 300 people.
I never would.
So shortly thereafter, Al invited me to be a full-time singer in the band, and this was my first official gig, I think, which was Running Wild that same summer. Oh yeah, I think the thing that sealed it is that Alison got married to her beautiful wife, Sue, on my birthday, and I agreed to give up my birthday and go and sing for her wedding. So I think that's the thing that actually sealed it for me and got me in the band. So it has been an incredible, incredible journey. As you heard from Connie, we've been through a lot of work together to contend with who we are and the music we play and the responsibility we have working the kind of rooms that we work. We are definitely a queer-first band. We are here to create joyful, incredible dance parties for our queer community. But what we've been recognizing lately is that we have something that actually everyone needs, everyone deserves to have. And that's using music, using parties, using dance as a platform to connect as opposed to separate. We're living in a world that is progressively becoming more and more divided, and it is critically important to Queer as Funk. In fact, I would go so far as to say at this time, it is our mission to invite people to weave themselves back together in the form of queer friendship and queer joy. And when we talk about queer friendship, we don't only mean friendship between people who have same-sex desire or who experience their life outside of the gender binary. No, queer friendship is about having friendships with people in your community who are different from you. So people who love different from you, people who have different genders from you, yes, but also people who look different from you, people who are different sizes, different ages, different abilities, people with different languages, different homelands, different beliefs. Those are the kinds of queer friendships that are going to allow us to knit ourselves back together. And that's what we're interested in. So we are cultivating every time we step on a stage. Our goal is to cultivate queer joy in a queer-forward way, but that invites everyone to be part of it. And to say, you can borrow from this very special repository of joy that we are creating as queers, and you can use that to build connections, build friendships, build bridges in your life and in your community so that we can find our way back to one another. So that is our kind of spicy approach to using our platform, using our responsibility, and using our joy to try to spread it as far as it will go. So it is our real pleasure to have been with you here today and to share a little bit about who we are, how we are creative, how we weave our creativity and our queerness together, and how we want to keep sharing that with you. We're about to release our very first album. Thank you so much for having us here today and listening and being part of our queer friendship and our queer joy. Queer as Funk! Queer as Funk.
Okay. You have a, really? Okay, we're starting in the back of the room.
I had a question. Was it Kat?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had a question for you. So you mentioned in your talk about how you were discouraged from expressing emotion as a kid. I had a similar experience, and I'm curious what your experience has been like re-inhabiting emotion, or some version of that question.
Connie just whispered spicy question next to me. It's a process. It's a process, and I think even when I do it, when I am able to express emotion, I'm like, did I do it right? Am I doing it? But I have a really wonderful supportive partner who is like helping me through this, and I don't know, through music. I guess I had a teacher who was like, you have a lot of energy, put that energy into the music, and I'm still trying to figure out what that means in an embodied way. Like, how do I get all this tension and shaking just to come through the music itself? I think that's what I think about anyway. Yeah.
That was Christine. Who are you?
I'm Mark.
Oh, well, that's easy.
Based on this morning's performance, can we expect the second Queer as Funk album to be unplugged and acoustic?
Spicy!
Mark, we were just talking about that. I mean, let's do a little audience survey. Is this the sort of format you would like to receive music in? All right. The people have spoken.
Sec.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I really appreciated the way in which, Connie, you talked about the band really thinking through connections to colonialization, white supremacy, and what it means to work with predominantly Black funk and soul music. And so I'm just curious, how do you reconcile those pieces? So what are the actions that the group is doing? Thank you.
Great question. Sure. So great question. Thank you. Very spicy. So we've done a number of things. We have sort of studied together in circle for a number of years our experiences in our own identities, our own positionality, as it relates to the intersecting systems of oppression that we all live inside of, what we like to colloquially refer to as dominant culture. And we've really explored that together, and we've tried to find ways to be vulnerable together and really lean into the discomfort and the prickles and the tensions and the not knowing, the shame and the not knowing, and doing that together as a family to walk our own individual paths and be on our own individual journeys about being in relationship with that. We also have explored with many, as Connie was saying, many colleagues and friends in the music community of all different identities, the concepts of cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation. Mm-hmm. And I think that this is a journey that we continue to be on. And I think that with the vast majority of our musician friends, we experience a lot of creativity is borrowing from that which the milieu in which you find yourself. Mm-hmm. And all of us grew up loving this kind of music. And so it's really an honor, and we try to treat it as an honor to represent a lot of tunes from a lot of musicians that we deeply admire and respect. And we try to tell their stories on stage as well, to try to uplift and daylight some of the lesser known stories of artists and musicians, particularly queer ones, mm-hmm. who haven't been recognized as much in their own careers.
And another form of concrete action that we take as well is we've actually created a mission statement within and a purpose-driven focus in the band. When we're interviewed or asked to perform at various gigs or events, we ask very intentionally about who the other artists are on the roster. We will make very deliberate decisions if we feel we're going to be invited into an event where we would not be welcome to speak about these actions, which we incorporate into performance as a part of our core performance. and have declined opportunities as a result of standing in those principles.
Okay, we have time for 2 more questions. I see hands. Oh, you're back in the game? Really? You withdrew your question and now you're back in? Really? Make up your mind. But I have a question for you. Would you like to meet the illustrator who did your portraits?
Absolutely.
Yes.
What if she was in the room?
Yes.
Yes.
And what if she stood up right now?
We would love that.
There she is!
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. What an incredible gift. We'll connect after the thing. Yeah.
Hey folks, I'm Zane. I actually had a similar question to that, but I wanted to say I love how you said represent and represent. Because I was telling my small group when you did your covers, I heard the lyrics in a way that I hadn't heard them before. So it's important to see songs in new ways because otherwise it gets lost. Sure, you did famous people, but in other ways. My question now is, how do you guys balance your business lives, like your day jobs, versus your creative endeavor here, especially when you're such a big group? Because you could, like, if it's a solo thing, I'll just do this at night. When there's 10 of you, plus whomever else is supporting, how do you do that so this can thrive, but also you still get paid with your other work?
It can be challenging. Planning to have 9 or 10 people in the same room every week. For example, our keyboard trombone player works on the cruise ships from September to May, and then he comes back and does the busy season with us. Some of us play music full time. Kat is a great example of that, as well as a couple other folks in the band. So they teach, they gig, and they make time for the... There's not a lot of bands, honestly. I've played with a lot of bands over the years. There's not a lot of bands that practice every single week, and I'm so grateful that everybody makes that time for this to happen. Because I think that's the magic, is seeing each other's faces every week and getting a chance to be creative. And then there are those of us that have other jobs that, sometimes take us out of town or sometimes have us working, 12-hour days as realtors. If you're looking to buy or sell, give us a shout. ABC. And it can be challenging. It can be challenging. I know for myself, I struggle to find as much time to personally practice as I did before I did this COVID shift in careers, because the music business, my agency kind of disappeared when COVID arrived. So, yeah, it can be challenging, and also it's the best part of the week, and we make time for it, and it's pretty magical.
Okay. Who wants one last shot at spicy? I see you. I'm going to go, you know what? It'll be spicy.
Well, no, I don't know. I'll do my best. One of the things that I admired, so a question to you, is, and it's something that I push-pull with all the time, is like the way you sort of pushed your way into the band, right?
Yes.
And almost like from the fan stalkery thing from behind.
Yes.
and then
That's right.
I'll start dressing like them, and then I'll...
That's correct, yeah.
But where does that come from within you? Because like that's my struggle all the time of I feel like I'm always pressing up against the glass going, oh, I want to be in there, right? But you went in there. Where does that come from within you to do that?
Oh, man, that's a really interesting question. In this case, I don't know. I feel like I just knew this was where I needed to be. I just knew that, I don't know. I think I had an intuition that I needed it on a profound kind of spiritual level. I also, as I said, they did not have a doo-wop girl. They had no femme-presenting humans in the band at the time. I was like, you need a little skirt in there. You need a little lipstick, a couple of, baubles. No, but it is true. But where does it come from? I think, where does the kind of, do you mean where does the brash chutzpah come from to just be like, I'm yours now?
Well, you said you don't have a do-up, and they could have said you.
No, we had actually many people approach us, me specifically, and I was always like, are you asking if you want to replace me? What's going on here? And it was very different with Jocelyn. And I think that the experiences as we've evolved together is that we are a really magical combination. And she has such a powerful, attractive, vibrant energy about her. And she comes at her musical pursuits with such authenticity and creativity and love and joy. And she's become the de facto spokesperson, frankly speaking, for Queer as Funk. And we're so grateful that you're here, frankly.
I mean, like, to answer your question, I think as trite as it might sound, I think it was meant to be in this case. And I think we all collectively kind of followed that, even though it took some of us a while to get the message. Worth the wait! Yeah. But yeah, we just fit.
Jocelyn is also a bona fide extrovert. So
Yeah, no,
I think that
can vouch
helps
for
a lot.
That's true. That's true. And so let's put a pin in it there. One thing, it's funny as a sort of facilitation host person, I could do 10 minutes just reflecting on what I heard today from your stories. There was a lot. It was very rich. Having 4 speakers, I heard, fear, self-doubt, lean in, try something new, stay open, insert yourself. A lot of really cool creativity tricks and tips. But I have a question for the audience. Does anybody else feel energized by spending time with them? Ladies and gentlemen, Queer as Funk!